Hey everyone! Look, if you're procuring infrastructure materials, you already know the devil isn't just in the details, it's in the delays. Okay, let's dive into this, because today, we're shifting our mindset completely. We're going to stop thinking about just buying raw lengths of metal and start focusing entirely on procuring a fully complete installable route. Let's get to it. Right out of the gate, we need to shatter a super common procurement myth. A bill of materials that only lists straight sections and a total length, that is not a final checklist. In reality, it's barely a starting point. It's kind of like buying a massive, complex Lego set, but without any of the actual connecting pieces. No way you can build it, right? The true goal, what you actually need to build your project without those agonizing, costly delays, is an installable route. That means right alongside those straight sections, you absolutely must procure the fittings, the supports, the accessories, and the connection hardware that actually hold the whole shebang together. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're covering the starting point myth, the 12-point BOM matrix, a 7-step reconciliation workflow, the missing accessories trap, receiving inspection must-haves, and finally, ZINMA quality and standards. This structured framework is exactly how project managers prevent those disastrous installation halts. Section 1. The starting point myth, moving beyond just straight sections. To really move beyond just basic lengths, we've got to totally redefine our procurement documents. It just can't be a simple request for raw metal anymore. It literally must be a precise order for an installable route, and the delivery sequence has to be tied directly to a controlled drawing. Think about it like buying a car. You don't order a pile of steel and rubber and hope for the best, right? You order a functioning vehicle. If your current purchase orders don't reflect this exact level of precise detail, you're basically rolling out the red carpet for missing parts and immediate delays for your installation team. Section 2. The 12-point BOM matrix, structuring your purchase order, also known as 条家采购清单的12个要点. When you actually build this 12-point matrix, prioritization is absolutely everything. Now, what's really interesting here is how zone and environment must take precedence at the very top of the hierarchy. They need to sit prominently right in column 2. The sources are incredibly explicit on this. These fields can never, ever be relegated to some tiny footnote at the bottom of a page. And why is that? Well, because the environment completely dictates the material finish, the required corrosion resistance, and ultimately the lifespan of the entire system. If you miss this early on, every single calculation that follows is structurally compromised. Section 3. 7-step reconciliation workflow, from drawing to quotation. So this workflow absolutely must happen chronologically before any purchase order is ever released. The drawing phase kicks off with initial drawing analysis just to fully grasp the holistic site plan. Next up is route identification, where you're tracking exactly where that tray will travel. Step 3 is material extraction, literally pulling every single component off that precise path. And then BOM drafting puts all that raw data straight into our 12-point matrix. It's a highly logical flow, right? It ensures nothing slips through the cracks in the transition from blueprint to spreadsheet. Let's move to and see how this builds into the final approval steps. When you receive a supplier quote, you don't just blindly accept it. That's step 5. You pivot immediately to step 6, which is a meticulous line-item cross-check against the BOM you just drafted. You are verifying a foolproof match here. Only after perfect reconciliation is achieved do you finally execute step 7, final purchase order approval. Skipping any of these 7 steps? Well, that's just inviting chaos. Section 4. Avoid installation stopping missing accessories, the missing pieces. Think about your past projects for a second. Have you ever had a crew of highly paid installers just standing around on a job site doing absolutely nothing? What absent accessory caused that massively expensive delay? Did you know a huge chunk of installation delays are caused by nothing more than a missing $2 bracket? The harsh reality is, a single missing piece can bring a massive data center or industrial plant installation to a grinding halt. Think about it. If you forget the fittings, your tray can't turn corners. Without supports, well, it's staying on the floor. Lack the tiny connection hardware, the nuts, bolts, and splice plates, and those expensive straight sections are completely useless. And crucially, if you lack the inspection evidence, compliance officers will literally shut you down before you even start. Every single item here is highly likely to be absent from a poorly drafted quotation. Section 5. Receiving inspection must-haves. Verifying the delivery. So let's imagine your PO is flawless and the truck has finally arrived on site.
verifying that delivery is about so much more than just counting boxes. And this brilliantly illustrates the 5 essential checks you need. Yes, checking the quantity is essential, but you also absolutely must check dimensional conformance to ensure the materials actually fit the real-world site realities. You've got to verify the finish perfectly matches your environment matrix. You must check hole alignment, because hey, if the holes don't line up, that connection hardware simply won't fit. And finally, physical delivery means absolutely nothing without the proper documentation. All 5 of these checks have to be verified together the moment materials are received. Section 6. XINMA Quality and Standards. International Compliance Benchmark.
Delivering this level of comprehensive route-level quality consistently, that requires a top-tier manufacturer who meets incredibly strict international standards. According to the source material, Shanghai Xinma Busway and Cable Tray Company is the absolute benchmark here. They don't just stamp out metal. They engineer intelligent cable management systems, busways, and seismic bracing designed explicitly for the complex infrastructures we've been talking about, places like data centers, rail networks, and heavy industrial plants. They actually have the real-world capability and expertise to handle that complex 12-point matrix all the way from the blueprint right to the delivery. But of course, a manufacturer's claims must always be backed by rigorous compliance. So the crucial point is that strict adherence to global standards like IEC, NEMA, BSEN, and GB completely guarantees that the route arriving on your job site is not just complete, but it's mechanically sound and perfectly safe.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. I really want you to ask yourself, is your next purchase order buying a length of raw metal or a fully installable route? The next time you sit down to review a quotation, remember the 12-point matrix, execute that 7-step workflow, and demand absolute completeness. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into cable tray procurement, and go apply these strategies to your next build.